Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto was given a time travel jutsu. After receiving a time travel jutsu as payment for a mission, the original 4 members of Team 7 each get a chance to go back to one event in their life and change it. Surely, they will use such an awesome power responsibly, right? Don't count on it. Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard. Chapter 21, and you guys wonder why I left. So what do you know about this Lee kid, Kakashi? Minato asked as the next pair of genin made their way to the arena floor. He's Guy's student, right? Indeed, Kakashi confirmed. He's unhealthily devoted to youth and being exactly like Guy. He can't use chakra for ninjutsu or genjutsu, so he's remarkable with taijutsu but tends to risk permanent disability or even death to prove himself. There's nothing wrong with risking that so long as it does not happen, the Kazekage noted. True, but you can't always guarantee it and too many risks could backfire, Minato countered. So, does his emulation of Guy and fascination with the power of youth make him more youthful than his mentor? Kakashi considered the question. Not yet. In a few years, though. So he'll need to pass, soon, Minato remarked. How are Naruto's chances? I think he'll come out just fine, Kakashi replied. But Lee's no pushover. And it wasn't like Naruto could use his Sage mode, given the only way they knew of to learn that was spending weeks with the Toads, which Naruto obviously hadn't his timeline. Using Kyuubi chakra was also risky as Naruto's control wasn't the greatest and the goal was to get Lee through the fight without needing intensive care and life-threatening surgery. Kakashi didn't really know much about Lee's life at present, but if the events of the previous time's Chunin exam were any indication, the kid could really use a break. That's good, Minato said. I don't need Naruto to win the tournament or anything, but if he doesn't make a strong showing he's going to be so disappointed. Kakashi must have faith if he was willing to lay down money for it, the Kazekage said idly. Well, that and I could never bring myself to bet on Guy's student, Kakashi confessed. It's not like he's not a good instructor, because he is. Although his training methods are completely insane, but he would never, ever let me live it down. You almost bet on Hyuga, Itaka pointed out. But I didn't, Kakashi said finally. And Niji being Guy's student was really what decided me in the end. May we have a most youthful match, Lee said, bowing. Naruto bowed back. If by most youthful you mean impressive enough for a promotion, then I hear you. One question before we start, I know Sakura used to love Sasuke, but did she ever harbor feelings for you? Lee asked. Well, she did confess her love to me once, Naruto answered. But that was mostly because she wanted to kill Sasuke. Lee blinked. Pardon. We have an interesting team dynamic, Naruto said with a shrug. So it would appear, Lee agreed. If you guys are quite done with the small talk, Obito spoke up, then the second match of the finals can begin. But the small talk is a vital part of my very ninja style. Naruto protested. Be that as it may, Lee doesn't really look like he needs to be saved from self-destructing, so just get on with the match, Obito instructed. Maybe he didn't. But wait until he started opening those gates. Naruto didn't remember how many of them Lee could open at this point in time, but he was fairly certain he could already open enough to turn red, which probably wasn't good for him. Lee came at him quickly, aiming a high kick at his chest. Naruto jumped back so it only grazed him, but Lee didn't give him any time to recover as hands were suddenly everywhere and Naruto didn't have time to do anything but block it. Naruto knew that theoretically, his ungodly stamina should allow him to outlast Lee if they kept this up. The problem was, not only would it fail to showcase anything but his staying power, but it also left Lee in a position to land a hit and do some serious damage. I don't know what this is called, but I saw that creepy kissing lady doing it, Naruto announced. He breathed wind-infused chakra into the palm of his hand, shaping it into a small ball-shaped whirlwind and shot it in Lee's direction. Naturally, Lee dodged and the sphere tore a hole through the wall behind him. It was close, though, and the backlash was enough to toss the boy back several feet. You know, Obito lamented. There's a reason we can never manage to get this place insured. Ah well, it's not like the repairs won't come out of your mission pay anyway. Who is the creepy kissing lady? Sasuke wondered. Sakura narrowed her eyes in concentration. I don't remember her name, but she was a kunoichi who attacked us a few times when we were dealing with Sora. Sora? Sasuke asked blankly. You know, that guy whose father infused him with Kyuubi chakra. Sakura prompted. Sasuke shook his head. No, I really don't know. I was probably elsewhere at the time. But let me get this straight, you guys encountered some semi-possessed guy and had to deal with some sort of kissing killer. Sakura nodded. It was a bit more complicated than that, but basically. And you guys wonder why I left? Sasuke muttered. Oh please, like that disgrace to medical nin wasn't getting up to some even more twisted things, Sakura shot back. If he was then I didn't have to see it so I couldn't care less, Sasuke replied. Or that vampire girl, Sakura continued. Who? Sasuke asked, puzzled. You know, the one that healed people by biting, Sakura elaborated. Karen wasn't really a medic nin, Sasuke pointed out. And she had to get bitten to heal people, not vice versa. Whatever, Sakura said. It was weird. And she was creepy. She actually reminded me of you when we first got on a team, Sasuke said casually. Sakura's eyes darkened. What? Think about it. Both of you were obsessive about me, good at chakra control, violent when angry at loud annoying teammates. Sasuke trailed off. Although I don't believe you ever rolled around in my discarded clothing or made plans to drug other people so you could ravish me, but then, she was 16 and you were 12. Sasuke, Sakura said warningly. Sasuke blithely ignored the warning. But then, there were some differences too. You had pink hair, she had red. You needed to believe in what you were doing and she was more blindly loyal. On the other hand, she was never useless. Seriously, it's like you want to die or something, Sakura marveled. Lee had apparently taken the time Sakura and Sasuke were bickering to reveal his Nindo to Naruto. And so you see, he concluded. It matters not that I have no inborn advantages for I am a genius of hard work. That is amazing, Naruto, always a sucker for a sob story, gushed. I am truly inspired. I may not be the most naturally gifted either, but I am a genius of stamina. No natural advantages. Sasuke shouted down. What about the Kyuubi? Or being the Hokage's son? Sakura added. Or the fact one of the Sunin is your godfather? Kiba joined in. Or the fact you always seemed to know everything before we were taught it? Shikamaru deigned to contribute. Or dash. Yep, Naruto said loudly, ignoring his rather unsupportive friends. I did everything all by myself. Well then we shall have to see which is greater, my hard work or your stamina, Lee declared. Lee, Guy called out. Lee immediately turned his attention to his mentor. Naruto cursed the fact that Lee was his friend and thus attacking him when he was distracted during the exam would probably be a bad idea. Yes, Guy-sensei. Take them off, Guy ordered. Lee's eyes widened. Are you sure? I thought dash. I know, Guy nodded, smiling. But it's time to show these people what you're made of. I will, Lee nodded determinedly. He bent down and began unbuckling the weights around his legs. Naruto was really cursing having an honor code right about now. You think taking off a few paltry weights will give you enough of an advantage? Temari asked skeptically. I don't know, Shikamaru said thoughtfully. Loud and ostentatious though they may be, I don't think Guy and Lee would make such a procession about just a few pounds. Besides, they are both known to take things to the extreme. But those things are tiny. Temari protested. How heavy could they possibly be? Temari's question was answered as Lee casually tossed the two weights to the side as if they weighed nothing. To the surprise of most of the stadium, the weights left a huge crack in the floor and caused a large cloud of dust. Temari blinked. I stand corrected. I knew I should have made a bet, Shikamaru said absently. Then why didn't you? Temari demanded. Shikamaru shrugged. It was too troublesome, right? Temari rolled her eyes. How did I know you were going to say that? You've said more than 2 words to him. Kiba offered. No one asked you, Temari snapped. I don't need to be asked, Kiba declared. He cocked his head. You know, you two would make a good couple. Shikamaru would have responded, but he felt secure that the Suna Kunoichi would react enough for the both of them. I'm 16. He's 12. What the hell is wrong with you? She demanded. 13, Shikamaru corrected. That's not much better, Temari insisted. In a couple of years it won't make a difference, Kiba said dismissively. Then come back then. Temari ordered. Oh I will. Kiba said, an evil glint in his eye. Akamaru barked twice. What? No, I don't think it's weird I keep trying to set all my friends up, Kiba denied. Akamaru barked again. But Ino really would be good with that one Umbu guy. And he looks just like Sasuke but paler, so it's not like she would even have a problem on that front. Kiba objected. And you have to admit, the thought of Lee with pink hair is enough to be rooting for Lee to get the girl. Can he really understand all that barking? Niji asked. Shino shrugged slightly. I do not know, but it may not matter. Why? Because that boy has enough problems. Poor Hinata-sama, to think she's on a team with him, Niji shook his head. And I thought Lee was bad. Didn't you say something to the effect of those first 2 when Naruto tricked you into revealing you came back? Sasuke whispered. No, Sakura lied. Lee was moving too quickly for Naruto to see clearly. He could see the blur and knew that if he could manage to win, if he could land a solid hit, but that was proving difficult under the circumstances. For perhaps the first time in his life, he wished he had a Sharingan so he could tell where Lee would be in attack there, but then he reminded himself that that would be cheating and promptly dismissed the half-formed thought. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto said, forming the hand seals as he dodged Lee's right fist but was hit by Lee's left foot. Naruto doubled over, automatically clutching his stomach. Lee-san's weights packed quite a punch. Or kick, whatever. He quickly straightened and slipped into his army of clones. I may not be able to tell which one is the real you, Lee admitted. But it does not matter, as one hit should dispel the fakes and I can take them out quickly enough. Try it, a clone challenged. For that, he was the first to go. Naruto waited silently as Lee moved through his clones and dispelled them with ease. Fortunately, it seemed that Lee had chosen to start with the clones on the opposite side of Naruto, so Lee made his way towards his real opponent last. Having had to dispel dozens of shadow clones already, Lee was getting frustrated and was beginning to slow down. Perfect. Naruto wasn't entirely sure he should be using this during the exam, but Gaara had killed someone and Sasuke had used the Chidori the first time and would very likely use it again, so why not? It would do some damage, but probably not anything near how badly Lee had been wounded after opening all those gates and being on the receiving end of Gaara's desert coffin. Raise non! Naruto cried out as Lee was dispelling the clone to his left. Lee's eyes widened and he tried to get out of the way, but it was too late. The raise-non did not hit him head-on, but it still sent him flying and his head hit the floor with a sickening crunch. Obito waited for a moment to see if Lee would rise to his feet. When he didn't, he hurried over to see his condition. Naruto is the winner of the match. Someone get a medic. Immediately, the medics standing by went to Lee's side with a stretcher. Naruto bit his lip as he hurried up to the balcony to rejoin his friends. "Think I overdid it a bit?" he asked, concerned. "It could be worse," Sasuke said with a shrug. "He may need medical attention, but so did half the people from the prelims. Besides, it's not like getting hit will jeopardize his chances of remaining a ninja." "That is something," Sakura agreed, remembering that even breaking half his limbs wasn't enough to dampen Lee's insane resolve, as he'd only made his condition worse in the month before the finals by trying to ignore his injuries. "Who's up next?" Kiba asked. "That would be me," Shikamaru said, raising a hand lazily. "I'm not really sure I want to, though. I mean, after me is Neji and then Sasuke. Who really wants to see me fight?" "It doesn't matter who does or does not want to see you fight, as you will not like the consequences if you forfeit and don't give me a chance to," Temari said, grabbing his arm and dragging him towards the stairs. "You think you know troublesome, trust me, you have no idea." While I admire Temari's determination, any match involving Shikamaru that doesn't come with some sort of external time constraint will take hours, Naruto remarked. "Do you guys want to ditch again?" "But I'm up after the match," Sakura protested. "Hours," Naruto repeated. "I don't know." Sakura trailed off. "I was up after Shikamaru's match during the prelims," Sasuke reminded her. "And I made it back in time." "Yeah, but you're an Uchiha," Sakura pointed out. "Everyone wanted to see you in the finals, so they weren't about to toss you out of the prelims for being a few hours late. And Niji's the Hyuga's up-and-coming prodigy and they'll want to give him a chance to shine," Sasuke pointed out. "Besides, Naruto's right, the fight will take hours. But so will lunch." Sakura replied. "I was going to say something about being shocked that Sasuke would actually agree with me, but then I realized that he would just say that it would happen more often if I was right more often, so, yeah." Naruto trailed off. "It's kind of pathetic you can have arguments with me in your head," Sasuke said bluntly. "And I don't even win them all the time," Naruto said sadly, shaking his head. "Fine, let's go," Sakura decided. "Kakashi's kind of busy making sure your dad doesn't die, so he can't come, so does that mean it'll just be the three of us?" "That's no fun," Naruto said, shaking his head. His eyes lit up. "Hey, Gaara, want to go grab lunch with us?" Gaara blinked slowly. "But what about the match?" Naruto waved his concerns away. "Don't worry, we've done this before. I just need to leave a few shadow clones and then one of them will dispel and let me know when the match is over. It's not really going to be very exciting, I don't think, and the only one of us that will need to rush is Sakura." "All right," Gaara agreed. "Where are we going?" "Ichiraku Ramen," Sasuke and Sakura chorused. Naruto scratched his head. "Really? I was actually going to suggest that barbecue place, as I was worried you might be getting sick of ramen, but, if you insist." Chapter 22, Niji's Monologue of Doom. And so the moral of the story is that you should never, ever, under any circumstances, ever run off with a snake pedophile who has admitted to wanting your body, Naruto concluded. Tookie and his daughter Ayame just stared blankly at him. "That's all well and good, Naruto," Tookie said finally. "But what does that have to do with your theory that turning Ichiraku's into a Tsukemen shop would destroy the economy?" "It has everything to do with it," Naruto insisted. Sakura sighed heavily. "That's always the moral to all of Naruto's stories, no matter what they might be about." "Really?" Sasuke asked innocently. This has got to be the first I've heard of this. Too bad, it sounds like good advice. Naruto made a face at him. Bastard. Turning back to Tuki and Ayam, he continued seriously, but seriously, don't do it. Or if you do, at least leave your basic miso ramen with roasted pork fillet. Sure thing Naruto, Ayam agreed, eyeing him a little strangely. If I could get that in writing, that would be GRE-, Naruto started to say. Sakura whacked him on the head. Their words should be enough. Stop obsessing. Besides, if worst comes to worse you can always manually combine them. I know, Naruto sulked. But it's just so tr-. Don't you dare, Sasuke warned. You guys never let me do anything. Naruto complained. Gaara looked on with mild confusion. You three are really friends? He sounded skeptical. Not by choice, Sasuke grumbled. They just wouldn't stop following me around and eventually I stopped caring. Why? I had been led to believe that friends acted less. Gaara hesitated, searching for the word. Hostile. Oh, friends do, Naruto assured him. If you don't treat your friends well, they'll probably ditch you as a friend. Or else they have huge self-esteem issues which you'll just make worse. Either way, not the best idea. Best friends are different, though, Sakura said. The three of us, along with Kakashi, we have a lot of history and once that happens the dynamic tends to change. Since you're more comfortable around each other so you can tease each other more without having to worry about the other person getting offended and if someone has a problem or overwhelming obsession, they're kind of expected to open up about it. Right, Sasuke. What? Sorry, Sakura, I'm just still marveling at how brilliant Naruto's moral was and wondering why no one ever told me this before. It might have come in handy, you know, Sasuke told her. I don't understand, Gaara admitted. You will, Naruto assured him. I mean, we're your friends and we've only known you for a little over a month. But why? Gaara pressed. Naruto shrugged. Since when did he ever need a reason to add someone to his friendship collection? Something told him mentioning the existence of said collection probably wouldn't go over very well. Because you're awesome. Although I recommend not following our example in that you don't try to kill any of your friends, Sakura advised. You guys have tried to kill each other. Gaara didn't sound surprised. Yeah, Naruto nodded. Sasuke tried to kill me and Sakura tried to kill Sasuke. And Naruto tried to kill Sakura, Sasuke added. I'm kind of surprised he bothered because it's not like she was a threat when she came after me. That was an accident. Naruto protested. You still made me cry, Sakura declared, crossing her arms. Oh come on, you cried all the time back then, Naruto pointed out. If Sasuke had been crying, real tears, not of that creepy tears of blood stuff, then that might have gotten to me. Although I can't promise I wouldn't have found it hilarious to look back on. Why cry real tears when you can make it extra dramatic by making them tears of blood? Sasuke asked rhetorically. So you don't mess up your eyesight. Naruto decided to answer it anyway. I did not cry all the time. Sakura objected. Only when something really awful and traumatic happened. Which was, all the time back then, Naruto reminded her. He turned to Gaara. But don't worry, we're mostly past all that now. Mostly. Gaara repeated. In my defense, I have Sasuke on my team, Naruto replied. The same for me but with Naruto, Sasuke said. And he wears orange. And I have to put up with that, Sakura said, gesturing to the two glaring boys. Naruto jerked suddenly. Sakura? It's time. What? I knew I wouldn't make it in time. Sakura said, as she jumped up. You could have left at any time, Sasuke pointed out. And leave you two alone with poor, impressionable Gaara? Sakura demanded. Not on your life. Try not to lose before we get there, would you? Sasuke requested. Sakura's only response was to slam the door behind her. Gaara blinked at that. Konoha is not normal. I know, isn't it great? Naruto grinned. Should we get going, too? Sasuke asked. We'll get there when we get there, Naruto said dismissively. He waved Ayame back. Can I get another bowl? Kakashi couldn't remember the last time he was so grateful for Jiraiya's books. Shikamaru's match had lasted for over 4 hours. And strangely enough, his kids weren't back from their lunch yet. On the other hand, maybe it wasn't so strange considering that Naruto was at a ramen bar. And Gaara went too, and Kakashi really didn't have the faith in that boy's sanity that Naruto apparently did, so it was always a possibility that he snapped and tried to kill them all. He really hoped that wouldn't be the case, as that would lead to some inevitable delays, some paperwork on his part, and he'd be stuck there for hours upon end. Oh, and he would be quite put out if his team died, of course, but they could take care of themselves just fine. Probably. At least against Gaara, as they'd already beaten him once, that day, in fact, exactly one timeline ago. Well, that was certainly something, Minato said, trying to be excited. Shikamaru had a brilliant strategy and Temari certainly had some nice moves there. Temari was led around for the entire match by a boy who barely moved an inch and looked like he was asleep half the time, the Kaze Cage countered. I'm lucky that boy is a certified genius, or Suna would have been even more embarrassed. Still, it was a sight better than how Kankuro did against the Hyuga prodigy. Naruto proved it would be rather difficult to do worse. And at least she's moving on, right? Kakashi pointed out. If I remember correctly, she'll be fighting Naruto next round, and God knows that boy is far too hyperactive to sit still for 5 minutes in a fight, let alone 240. There is that, I suppose, the Kaze Cage agreed. He brightened. Oh, and it will be my child against yours, Hokage-sama. Minato raised his eyebrows. Indeed? That should be an interesting matchup. Having temporarily been in the Hokage seat himself, Kakashi realized that that was just cage speech for eternal bragging rights. That was not going to be a fun match either. Sakura rushed down to the arena floor to the sounds of Ino berating Shikamaru. Seriously, what part of "I must have vengeance" did you not understand? She demanded. I'm sorry, Ino, but I thought you were talking about Sasuke. Or were Sasuke with your subject matter? Either way, I assumed Sasuke was somehow involved and quickly stopped caring. Shikamaru semi-apologized. But you beat her. You had her frozen and could have made her surrender. Ino cried. Why the hell didn't you? I was out of chakra, Shikamaru explained. As I explained when I surrendered. Or am I not the only one guilty of not listening on this team? Out of chakra. Ino sputtered. You had enough to trap her while you were explaining your convoluted plan and needlessly surrendering. If you had chakra for that, you had chakra to make her forfeit or knock herself out or something. Maybe, Shikamaru allowed. But I wouldn't have any for the next fight. But if you won, you'd stand a better chance of getting promoted, Ino reminded him. That's great, Ino, except I don't want to be here in the first place, don't want to fight a second round. Definitely don't want to fight someone as troublesome as Naruto, and the only reason I could see for being promoted is not having to go through an exam like this again, Shikamaru countered. Besides, Temari spoke up. Real kunoichi fight their own battles. Finish growing up and then challenge me to a rematch or something if you're that desperate. I will. Ino vowed. I have a new goal in life. You know, Temari said idly, it's times like these that I understand why Kankuro hates kids so much. Sorry I'm late, Sakura said as she finally made her way over to her opponent. Finally, Niji said, sounding extremely irritated. You were in the bathroom for 25 minutes. What could possibly be taking so long? Okay, two things. 1. Get used to it because people often spend a ridiculous amount of time in restrooms. 2. I'm a pubescent girl, why the hell would you ask me that? Sakura demanded. Kid's got a point, Obito said. You are really better off not asking. Anyway, let the hopefully more mobile fourth match between Hyuga Niji and Haruno Sakura begin. You are going to lose this match, Niji informed her matter-of-factly. You don't know that, Sakura argued. We haven't even started fighting yet. And yet the outcome is predetermined, Niji insisted. Sakura groaned. Not more of this fate crap. There is nothing wrong in accepting that some things are inevitable. For instance, you have pink hair and will never be a chakra powerhouse. I am a Hyuga branch member and a prodigy. These are things about us that we cannot change. I have no problem fighting a girl, but facing someone as weak as you, well, it would simply be embarrassing for us both. Save yourself the pain and humiliation your friend Ino suffered and just quit now. God knows her loss has led her to seek vengeance. Unlike Tamari, I don't live 3 days away and would actually be greatly inconvenienced if you were to regularly start challenging me to honor matches or whatever such nonsense that you think might make you feel better of yourself. Sakura decided that this would be a lot less trying if he got it all out at the beginning instead of stopping every 5 seconds to deliver a speech about why he thought she sucked. She glanced to the upper left at the balcony where the other finalists were waiting. Sure, it looked like Naruto and Sasuke were there, but she knew they couldn't be back yet or Naruto would start giving a speech of his own. Since Niji still wasn't finished, she allowed her eyes to wander to the lower right before scanning the crowd. Her parents still hadn't committed to either being at the exam or missing it, and it would have been kind of nice to know. Maybe after the fight she could ask Niji to check for her if he was done being a fatalist. You can't fool my eyes, Niji said a little louder, perhaps able to see she wasn't listening. Against my pressure just now you floated your eyes to the upper left. This is a sign that you are remembering your past experiences. Your painful past. Yes, you can tell which direction I'm looking. Truly the power of the Byakugan is great, Sakura said sarcastically. And I was actually just looking for my friends. But tell me, what do you know about my past that would make it painful? My tragically large forehead? Because looking back, it really wasn't all that noticeable and I grew into it. Besides, even if I didn't, I have better things to worry about and a forehead protector to boot. In favor of staying on topic and continuing his psychological assault on the pink-haired girl, Niji went on as if he hadn't heard her. And after that you looked to the lower right. That's a sign that you are imagining physical and mental pain. Basically, you are thinking about yourself. And from all the experience until now you are imagining the results of this match. Imaging that, you'll lose. Sakura snorted. Please. Like I need to imagine me losing. My teammates have already been doing quite a nice job of that for the past month. I believe in you, Kakashi called down. Not by choice, I'm sure, Sakura called back. Does it matter? It's more than you're getting from Naruto or Sasuke, Kakashi pointed out. See? Not even your own team believes in you, Niji drawled. That's kind of pathetic. What's pathetic is how much my team sucks, Sakura countered. And say fate does exist and is not just an easy justification for the way things turned out after the fact. How in the world do you know what my fate is? Are you claiming to be able to see the future now? Hardly, Niji scoffed. That's the kind of thing that Sherry non-users do. I feel so discriminated against, Kakashi sighed. Itaka shot him a strange look. For what? You're not an Uchiha and you don't have a Sherry non. By proxy, Kakashi hurriedly explained, for Obito and Sasuke who are either busy being professional or aren't here to get outraged. Obito is not liable to care, Itachi noted. Though Sasuke might swear vengeance. Some fights I believe I will win but am not certain about. Sasuke, Naruto, and Gaara are all very powerful and don't necessarily have to let me within range for my gentle fist style to work. Lee, though a failure at most aspects of being a shinobi, is a master at taijutsu, and closing off his chakra wouldn't affect him as badly as it would most. Even Temari could conceivably use her fan to keep me out of striking range. You. Niji said dismissively. You're a pink-haired civilian who got through on the strength of her teammates' powers, and because Hinata-sama still has a long way to go before being anywhere near her full potential. I can't exactly help the hair, you know, Sakura huffed. I know, Niji nodded solemnly. It is fate. Or genetics, Sakura countered. God, I feel like you're going to accuse me of being a witch next. And I feel like this match is going nowhere. Somebody do something before I'm forced to take drastic measures, Obito threatened. Fine, Niji grumbled. But after I beat you I'm going to haunt your hospital room until I finish explaining just how and why you'll never amount to anything. Sakura shuddered. This just got serious. That's it for this reading. Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfictions. Looking forward to having you on board again.